Welcome in to another episode of the Coatings Pro interview series. As always, I'm your host, Ben Dubose. Today, in the latest episode of our member profile series, we're going to be talking with construction engineering company Greenman Peterson, Inc., better known as GPI. We're going to have on Ray and Danny Pelaez. Ray is a longtime manager at the company, currently coatings and corrosion manager for GPI Corrosion Protection Services. Danny happens to be his son, and he is a coatings inspector. Ray, Danny, good morning. How are y'all?
Doing well, thank you. How are you, Ben?
Yes, thank you for taking the time. And we're in late June now, so we're about a week out from Father's Day, but we are going to call this a special Father's Day episode. We're slightly delayed in that due to scheduling, but it's close enough. And I think Ray and Danny have a pretty compelling story. I think a good place to start before we get into some of the things that that you all are seeing in the field these days, and of course your experience in dealing with SSPC, NACE, and AMP, some of the association talk. I want to begin by letting each of you introduce yourselves. Ray, since you've been in the business longer, just tell our audience, for those who don't know Ray Pelaez, just your background in the industry and what it is that you're doing right now.
Yes, I've been in the industry for about 33 years. I've been with GPI for about 16 years now. Some of my responsibilities with GPI, with the Corrosion Protection Services Group, is besides being a manager, I'm a quality manager, and I also, teach a couple of courses, for the former SSPC, which is now AMP. I teach the C1, C2, C7, C12, BCI, and now the CIP. I think that I don't have a job. What I mean by that is I love what I do. So what they say, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So I guess that's how I can describe my role with GPI. I work with failure analysis, specification writing, managing coating projects, and one of my passions is FRP, fiber reinforced polymers, which is something that I've been doing for about 20 years, and we're actually working with AMP to develop inspector qualification, document for that. So with that, I turn it over to my son.
All righty, hello. I am Danny, also a Ramon. I've been with GPI fairly recent, a little over a year. I've been on some pretty fun projects, and currently I'm just a coating inspector. Ramon has a lot more on his plate than I do. And I also love what I do. I'm having a great time traveling. We've got to spend a good amount of time in Maine, some time in Michigan. I'm currently in Kentucky, and every project comes with its own unique sets of surprises, and it's quite enjoyable.
As a quick follow-up to that, what's been your most memorable moment in the past year or so? Is there a project or something that stands out as something that maybe you didn't envision going in?
Well, absolutely, actually. It was my first nuclear project in Fermi 2 in Michigan.
Okay.
And I've never been exposed to the nuclear side of the industry until that point. And it was quite the experience. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And I actually had the pleasure of working with my father on that project. So he was a great resource for guidance and direction.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a pretty important asset to protect, without a doubt. Danny, did you always know when you were growing up? I know Ramon, or he's known by Ray in the industry, but did you always know that you wanted to sort of follow in his footsteps and work with him? Is this something that just sort of happened, or did you always know that you wanted to pursue this type of arrangement?
It's actually a pretty neat story. It's kind of like a little bit of both. Because growing up, I got exposure to some really cool projects, with which I'll let him talk about it because he has a way with words. I had quite the exposure at a young age to the industry, and then I started off a little bit with some cathodic protection, and then I went to surface prep, and then now into coatings inspection, and it's it's pretty neat. So hey, Ray, you want to give him some information? He remembers better than I do because I was so young. Let's put it that way.
It's supposed to be the other way around, your brain kind of dries out when you get old, especially with all the pain fumes. Just kidding. I was safety first, right? Safety first, always safety, respirators. No, but to add to what Danny said, I think he was about 13 years old, when I would, when they had school breaks and I was working, I would take him to different projects. I took him to some projects in Domino's Sugar in New York, where he was exposed to, I guess we were doing some containment linings, so acid tank containment linings.
Mhm.
So we're doing some spark testing. So he never did the work, but he was just kind of hanging out.
I was the supervisor back then.
13-year-old supervisor?
Yeah, exactly.
But there's actually something before that. Before I in my slow time inspecting, I did some sandblasting and painting on the side, and he was my pot tender, and he was probably in his early 13s, late 12s. So he got exposed to the industry pretty young. And then, like you said, we worked in different projects. We worked in pipelining projects in UMass, and we did some wastewater treatment facilities. But he didn't work. He kind of just hung out with me and saw me do the work and so on and so forth. And then, what are the things that you remember, from some of these projects that you're doing now?
Oh, currently at right now?
Yeah. See, what comes to mind that you did when you were a young kid when we used to go to the projects?
Oh, I remember getting a whole bunch of snacks. Yeah, they always love giving me little treats. But I enjoyed it. I got to meet some cool teams, the workers. I got to see mountains of sugar. I've gotten to see some cool, just really neat facilities, places that I don't really think a lot of kids that age would get to see. So I felt pretty special.
What's it like working together now? Is there any challenge from being father and son at the same company, or is it all fairly seamless? Danny, you mentioned earlier that your dad was on the nuclear project that you found really interesting. Are there any challenges that come from you guys, being a family and yet a business at the same time, or is it all pretty smooth?
I mean, I would say it's really smooth on my end. I just inspect and hand up information. On his end, he has a lot more stress with the projects. But as
Ray, I'll ask the same question to you. Is it smooth for you?
I say yes. It's pretty smooth, but sometimes, like Dennis says, I tend to be a little hard. But I think what I mean by it, I mean that in a good way, right? I mean, I think in some projects, where time is of the essence, it is a little stressful. But the good thing is that working with him, he's a pretty smart kid. He gets it, and he gets things done pretty efficiently. So I'm pretty proud of him, actually. I've always been.
Ray, I want to turn back the clock a little bit for you. You've obviously been in the industry a few decades now, to the point where you've clearly been a leader, not just within your company and certainly with our association, but even within your own family, and bringing a new generation into the coatings industry and some of the things that you guys are doing now at GPI. How has the industry evolved over your years in it? I know you started in this a couple of decades ago, so when we talk about technologies, regulatory trends, how is life different doing these job sites in 2022 than it was 20, 25 years ago?
Well, I think from a personal experience, I've seen a ton of difference, especially in safety. Just to going back to the joke I made about safety first, when I first started painting, blasting and painting back in the day, I had a boss, God rest his soul, I loved him, but he used to ask us to go spray coal tar epoxy in huge tanks with a respirator.
Hmm.
So from that perspective, in terms of safety aspect, safety training, things are night and day. I think in terms of technology, as well. There's been a lot of changes in quality specifically now with the QP program and the CIP programs and so on and so forth. I think there's a lot more education now than when I first got started. That doesn't mean that it didn't exist, right? But I think the availability and the job that AMP has been doing, well, previously SSPC and NACE, they really made education, I guess, a priority, which I think it's imperative for the growth of our industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that we've come light years from when I started, from my personal experience.
Mm-hmm. When did your affiliation start with, obviously in your case, Ray, I'll start with you, SSPC and or NACE. How did you get started with those organizations, and what are the ways that they've sort of impacted your career and its growth over the years?
Well, I think, I've been a NACE member for a long time, and subsequently I joined SSPC. I can tell you how long, but I can, if I can remember correctly, I was in 1997, I believe. What was it? Let me stand up and look at my thing here. No, I'm sorry, it's 1999 when I got my NACE level 3. So I think it's like in the 97, 96 when I became a member and took my NACE 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't that involved in, with NACE at that time because I was too busy working. But I think that being a member of AMP, which encompasses both NACE and SSPC, has have a great impact in my career, simply because they offer the training necessary to improve the industry. And for those of us who take advantage of that, it's been great because you not only learn about paint, right, how to paint or how to inspect, but you also learn how to develop projects, right, failure analysis, and prepare like for litigation cases. So it's been a very interesting, I guess, ride, for lack of better words. Now, currently, in the past couple of years, I served as the vice chair for the SSPC chapter here in New England, and I just got the chair for the AM chapter, and one of the most important, I guess, objectives that we have is to get the younger generation involved. So we're pretty focused on education and reaching out to the younger generation to show them how good this industry is and all the opportunities that being part of this industry brings to them, not only personally but financially.
Danny, what are some of the things that you've done? I know you've had to take some courses to get where you are now as a coatings inspector. What's been your involvement to this point in some of the association offerings?
So some of the offerings, I recently went to the convention in Arizona, and it was really cool to see kind of like the collaboration between like the AMP and the NACE. And I mean, I've been to a couple of chapter, where were they, chapter meetings?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I've been to a couple of chapter meetings, and we get to socialize with people far and close by within the industry, and kind of network and have a good time and see if we can help one another. So I've enjoyed it thoroughly, honestly.
Yeah. What's your certification for the inspection?
So I'm a level 1 coatings
Okay.
inspector, and then I also have a cathodic protection level 1.
Okay.
So
Cool.
so I have a couple of things that I'm interested in, and I know I need to get more, as I want to take advantage of the whole knowledge structure, and I really got to get involved.
Ray, this might be a better question for you, but you've had the perspective as far as when these programs were available through the SSPC and NACE umbrellas, and now, of course, we're trying to bring them together under AMP. What are you hoping to see now that these groups are merged? What are some things that potentially can be done better now that everything is under one tent compared to your first 20 or 25 years in the industry when these organizations were separate?
Well, I think that getting these two entities together is a great idea, because there was some redundancy in some of the services and certifications that were offered. So far, I think that what I've seen, from where I'm sitting, is that we're going in the right direction, and it's kind of hard to say what I would like to see more because we're just getting started. But what I've seen is that the collaboration and the support from AMP, it's there, and I think how we're going to improve this is going to be over time. But I feel that the willingness of AMP to help the chapters grow and help increase, the education program outlets, it's just a matter of time to improve in education programs. And what I mean by that is the offerings, right, of the education programs, like locations. Because some of the challenges that we've had here in New England, and which is something that we want to be talking about next week, with the board, the New England board, AMP board, is how can we increase, classes, offering courses, and have attendance, because I think in New England, we've had classes offered, but there is, they either don't happen because of attendance. Because some of the challenges, I think, that we need to figure out, locally and eventually nationally, right?
I tend to wind down these podcasts by asking people what advice that they would give to people that are new in the industry, and this can either be, for a company environment or for the association as a whole, the opportunities that are out there. I think in this particular case, it's a little more nuanced because you've already been doing this, Ray. I know you've already given some advice to Danny when he was really getting started out the last few years about what to do. So if you don't mind sharing to anybody else that would be hypothetically in, or maybe in Danny's shoes from a few years ago right now, what advice would you give them on things that they should be looking at as they get their careers started?
Well, I think the best way I can put it is be a sponge, take it all in. And there's so many different avenues in our industry that young professionals can go to. You have project management, you have inspection, you have threat protection. But in addition to that, you have like the design aspect of things, right? Development of specifications, developing a threat protection system. Design of threat protection systems. So there is a myriad of things that a young professional can do in this industry. I think my suggestion for the newcomers, I would say, or for the entrance to the industry, is to find what you're passionate about. And just go after it. And it takes hard work, and you have to start at the bottom and work yourself to the top. So it takes hard work.
Danny, I know you've been around this business for pretty much your entire life, but what's something about it that maybe you didn't fully realize or appreciate until the past year or so when you started doing it full time yourself? If you were going to advise someone that's, where you were a couple of years ago, what's something that, I don't know, that maybe they should prepare themselves for, that even if they have the advantages that you did growing up, having some clear ties to this industry, what's something that you can tell them from the past year or two that that might in the very early stages of their career?
Well, hopefully they love to travel, because I've been blessed with the travel bug, and I've honestly but that's a part of the job that I also enjoy a lot. Like I love it. I love being in a different location for a little extended amount of time. But that's like that. I think that's it. Like just the traveling. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy meeting new projects, new contractors, new like workers, everybody, and just getting to know people and getting the job done as best as possible.
Before we sign off, this might be a better question for you, Ray, because I know you're a manager, but for anyone that wants more information from, I guess, either of you or GPI, because I know GPI's Corrosion Protection Division, you've got a ton going on. For anyone who wants to learn more, what's the best way that they can either access more information or potentially get in touch with you guys?
Well, I mean, they can email me to rpelaez@gpinet.com, or they can go to a GPI website and just look for the opportunities that we have in available. But we're always we're always looking for good people. You know what I mean? And we have a ton of work, and it is a great company to work for. It's an employee-owned company, so anybody who's interested in belonging to, it's kind of like a family, right? It has its stress, but it's just a cool place to work.
I should have asked you earlier, but what's the range of projects for you guys? You don't have to go specifically, but just, generally, we talked about like the nuclear project as an example, but what is GPI's scope in terms of the types of assets that you guys typically work with?
Well, we're big in bridges. We do a lot of bridge work in probably about half a dozen states.
Mhm.
Water, wastewater, power, petrochemical. So we dabble in different markets
Yep.
segments.
A lot of
Anything that
opportunities.
corrodes, mining. We also work in mining. So anything that corrodes, we pretty much do.
Great insight there from Danny and Ray Peliz. If you want more information from them, again, you can check out their website, gpinet.com, and find out all sorts of information from the team at GPI. For Danny and Ray, my name is Ben Dubose, news editor with Coatings Pro Magazine. As always, we appreciate you all so much for tuning in, and please come back soon for another new episode.